Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second Asian brown bear expert team webinar. We have tonight Dr. Hussein Ambarli. He's been working in Turkey and in the region around there since 2001. That's about 23 years, or 2003, over 20 years. And he's going to do a sort of a review talk of science in the region and bring us all up to speed. All right, Hussein, take over.
Thank you, Mike, for the introduction. And I'd like to welcome to you all. And today, mainly I will talk about brown bears, ecology, diet, genetic, and human-bear conflicts, mainly in Southwest Asia in the last 20 years, I can say. And phylogeographically, importance of Turkey is actually, as you know, between Asia and Europe. That's why we have a kind of bridge between Asia and Europe. And we have many, actually, large carnivore diversity, especially regarding the brown bears, Eurasian lynx, Anatolian leopard, hyena, etc. Most of them actually either extirpated or locally present in Europe. And mainly, I have been working on 3 different ecosystems of Turkey in this northeastern Turkey and central and northwestern Anatolia and the Mediterranean parts of Turkey, studying mainly the brown bears, alpine wild goats, and also Eurasian lynx and some other large animals like wolves and other stuff. And when we look at the brown bear studies in the 7 countries, mainly Southwest Asia, Georgia, Armenia, Iran, Azerbaijan, Iraq, Syria, and Turkey. In the last 20 years, we have only 71 paper, and 24 of them related to zoology, 19 of them is related to ecology, 12 of them is about modeling the habitats and other stuff, and 10 of them related to veterinary science, and 7 of them biodiversity conservation. And there are also some other studies mainly related to either multidisciplinary or human-bear conflict studies, like the social or evolutionary anthropological studies. And when we look at this distribution in countries, Iran leading the brown bear studies in this region, and then Turkey is the second rank, and then Armenia and Georgia, and last Azerbaijan. We have almost no paper from Iraq and Syria, I mean, except the IBN newsletters. I did this study in the Web of Science, so that's why it's the Science Citation Index expanded articles. When we look at the brown bear distribution in this area, actually, Bejan did a great job in 2010, and you can see most of the bear distribution in black here. But when we look at the distribution in Turkey, is mainly composing, actually, I can say 3 different populations. But after doing these studies with Bruce in 2016, we now understand that I think these 2 populations are connected, and probably this one also somehow connected now. So I'm not sure whether these 2 populations in the Aegean Sea and the Mediterranean parts populations are connected or not. But I can say that these are connected and these are connected. And I can say that all of them now, I think, connected, at least genetically. Regarding the Iraq and Iran populations, there is only one paper and published in 2019, mainly modeling the brown bear habitats by Alma Shia et al. 2019, and showing the distribution of brown bear mainly in the Zagros Mountains and Elbrus Mountains, and the part of the Iraq, northern Iraq and eastern Iraq provinces, and brown bear distribution here. And when we look at my studies, mainly, my journey actually started in this village. And this part of the village is Turkey, and the other side, the mountains here are Georgia, belong to Georgia. So, I mean, I stay in this village in 2003, almost 6 months. And people always complaining about the brown bears damage to their beehives, sometimes to agricultural plots, and also sometimes to their actually themselves. But I mean, I couldn't see any bear during that time, and I wondered, is there anyone studying the brown bear in Turkey or in this area? And I couldn't find many people. And during that time, I think only the Emre starts doing some research or thesis during that time, but I didn't know that during that time. And then I started to write a project to Wildlife Conservation Society about the human-bear conflict, and I got a $5,000 grant, and then got some radio colors and some travel grants, and start to searching about the human-bear conflict in this area. And then since that time, I have been working on mainly on the brown bears here in northeastern Turkey and other parts of the Turkey. And I have been also working in human wildlife conflicts, bear, wolf, and wild boar. And I also studied the brown bear, Eurasian lynx, and Shama genetics too. I like to give some background information, and I think most of them is also valid for all parts of my study area, and also my interest for this talk. Limited knowledge about ecology of large carnivores and ungulates. As you already seen, we have just 70 papers almost published from those countries. Most of them fully protected species since 2003 in Turkey. I know that they are protected species in Georgia, Armenia. I don't know in Iran. They are not protected in Iraq. They are not protected in Syria, as far as I know. And hotspot of human-wildlife conflict, and there is no management, compensation, or conservation plan at all in most of the countries in this region, and estimated population size known just for a few species or for a few countries. Poaching and occasional legal trophy hunting still continues. And I have been doing monitoring studies of brown bears by using direct observation, capturing physically, remotely, or genetically, and then analyzing data and trying to make recommendations to wildlife departments, and writing small projects to children to educate and inform them about the wildlife ecology. And I have been also trying to conduct some public relations, but because of, I mean, the situations in Turkey, it's not really stable. And maybe you have seen before, I have been studying mainly in this region on northeastern Turkey. My journey starts near to here, and then I moved to the southern part of that region, and then start to work on the Kachgar Mountains. This is a high mountain, it's almost 4,000 meters. And it's mainly actually covered by the alpine grasslands and evergreen forests, and also I can say that also some part deciduous and mixed shrubland. And in order to investigate this, I choose one of the best known sites of conflict of brown bear populations. And then actually in this area, I can show some of the photos from the area. Mixed forests, mixed shrublands around the village. And actually this is my focal area where I did most of the radio coloring of individuals. And I have mainly actually captured 7 brown bears around this village here, and then they moved 100 kilometers, sometimes 50 kilometers away from this village. And this is the first radio color fitted brown bear in Turkey in September 2005. I think this is also the first one in, I can say, Western Asia, or maybe in Asia, I don't know. Maybe Bruce and Mike can confirm me later or now. And then I start to using GPS GSM colors in 2009 and 11. I fitted 7 brown bears with GPS GSM colors and monitored them for my PhD studies. And we also used camera traps to reveal brown bears and their activity patterns. And we also do some mark reciting analysis during that time. And our studies show that actually the males have almost 70 kilometers square kilometers for their home range, whereas females almost 15 square kilometers, and most of them overlap. This big one is actually a young one, mainly 3 or 4 years old. So I can say that mainly the male home ranges are overlapping, whereas the female home ranges, I had just only 2, this one red and pink one. They are not overlapping at all, but most of the male ones, including the female home ranges. And when we look at the other countries, you can see that female home ranges is just 1/10 of the other countries in the world, like US, Norway, and the male home ranges also is similar to that. And I can say that we have just similar cases in Greece, except that we have the smallest home range probably in the world. When we look at the density, actually in this area, we had a high density. And I never published this one, but I actually presented in 2013, I think, in United States IBA conference. And I have done a lot of analysis regarding this, because this is a really high number. And that's why I was a little bit hesitant to also to confirm this by using genetic. And 2018, actually, we also made a genetic study by using microsatellites, and actually we confirmed that at least 23 bears present in this area. So, and also this one actually confirms also all other things. And this is not in 1,000 square kilometers. This is densities in just 100 square kilometers. And when we look at the densities in Iran and Armenia, we have just one paper from each country. And Mokanaki et al. In biological conservation tried to understand that people density assumptions and confirm that by using I think by using camera trap, as far as I remember. And then they found that people always think that bears are high in numbers, than they really are, and 4.88 bears per 100 square kilometers in Iran, in Elbrus Mountains. And when we look at the Armenia, they had actually in 2016, I think, density and distribution of brown bear population within the Caucasus biodiversity hotspot. They found 28 individual bears, 7 males, 21 females. I don't know why there's this kind of discrepancy, but because of probably their camera trap and the genetic sampling female bias. And they found that almost 60 bears for 1,000 square kilometers. It's almost similar to here, 5 bears and 6 bears per 100 square kilometers in Iran and Armenia. But I can say that at least we have 3 or 4-fold brown bear density in Turkey. When we look at the diet studies in this region, and we have really very little, and mostly our bears from the captured ones, I can say that the females is around 100 kilograms and the males is 150 kilograms. And as you can see here, they are not so fat or something. We have also some fat bears, but most of them is like this one, and mainly feeding on grass. And when we look at the papers published by Sufi et al. 2017 in Iran, almost 97% of them or 99% of them actually is plant based, and animal contribution is really scarce in this diet study. And when we look at another study in Turkey, and we see that they also found that 85% of plant-based. And the study I made in 2016 from the collected skets, again, I found that 87% of the diet mainly based on plant species. So we can say that compared to Europe or North America, and we are at actually the southern edge of the brown bear distribution, and they are mostly feeding on plants instead of meat. And another paper by Tavşanoğlu, and maybe you know the Anil, and they actually showed that the skets, bear skets contribution to germination of plants seeds. And as you can see here, mainly the Malus and Prus actually can germinate better in feces than the control regions in the laboratory. So, but there is no difference or contribution by bears to berry or rose hip germination. But you can see that pear and apple actually can really grow better when the bear defecated around the slopes or something like that. They can contribute to wild orchard trees regeneration, I think. And in my third topic, when we look at the human-wildlife conflicts, and the first, I think, again, paper published in 2008 by me during that time with my supervisor, we published in 2008 in Ursus, and we made open-ended interviews with the villagers mainly, and we found that most of the bears giving damage to field crops, orchards, and 24% of the damage mainly on the beehives, and very little, just less than 10% on the livestock. And we also asked about the close encounters, and on more than 2/3 of the close encounters recorded, no harm occurred to bear or people, and people mostly know how to behave during that time, especially if they are local. And we made these interviews almost 20 years ago. And since that time, our rural population is still decreasing and the urban population is increasing. And many people during the summertime visiting their villages, but most of them born in the city centers, and they really don't know how to behave in the rural area. And these are some crop damages and locally improvised precautions. And sometimes because of these damages, people try to capture the bears by using belly snares, I think, belly snares. They made a loop by using a snare and the bear passing from inside, and it stuck after a while in it. And I anesthetized this bear and actually saved it from this bear from killing. And there are also during that time villagers called the soldiers in that area. This is near to the Georgia border, and I saved this bear from being killed during that time. It was 2008, I think, or 7. And most of the damage actually occurred during bears' hyperphagia time, when they need so much food consumption during the late summer and early autumn. Whereas beehives mainly affected during the early spring, and precautions with different level of sophistication and effectiveness against the bear damage. And the last photo, actually the imagination of local Black Sea people to put their beehives 30 meters above the trees, as you can see, to protect from beehive damages. But at the end, there can be many unwanted consequences of bear conflicts. Most of them actually either killed by locals, sometimes by the urban people, and there are many orphan bears. And we have only one sanctuary in the Western Anatolia in Bursa province, and the capacity of the bear sanctuary is about 70-75 brown bears. But I mean, it was mainly established for the dancing bears. And then after dancing bears died, for the last 10 years, actually they have been using this facility for the orphaned bears or the bears caused conflict in some hotspots of the damage in the mainland, the Eastern Anatolia. And in 2007, after I visiting the Greece, and I brought some electric fences from that area, and during EU international project, we also supported some villagers to buy some electric fences, as you can see on these photos. And we use elevated platforms during that time for the Kachkar Mountains Sustainable Forest Use project. And then, as you know, we have also some local preventive measures, and we have famous dog breeds like Akbaş and Kangal dogs, and they are against the brown bear. People mostly use it against the brown bear damage and also against the wolf damage too. Sometimes for also other in Africa and in, I think, Australia, they use for preventing from different damage types. But their needs are much more than normal dog, and they consume so much food, especially the Kangal breeds. The Akbaş is a little bit more easy easier, I mean, to take care of it. That's why most of the people in the Eastern Anatolia use it, more aggressive dogs like the Kangal ones, and on the Western Turkey, mostly the Akbaş dogs used. And regarding the brown bear attacks, we also made a study regarding the hotspots of conflict in Turkey. And as you can see from the map, there's only one country from Southwestern Asia, Turkey, and most of the attacks in this paper actually in Sweden, Norway, Finland, and Romania, and mainly composed of Turkey. And as you can see here, East means Turkey here, and Europe and North America is red, Europe is yellow, and you can see that most of the leisure activities causing the brown bear attacks, and hunting is the mainly brown bear reason of the brown bear attack in North America. And female with cubs and sudden encounter and some wounded bear or dog presence scenario also present in eastern part of this map, and eastern part also includes, I think, the Finland too. And there is also one study by Cemşit and Jarabelund, mainly human-caused mortality of large carnivores Iran during 1980s and 2021. And they found that mainly the brown bears mainly the brown bears, I mean, 30% of the occurrence of the large carnivore deaths, Ursus sanctus had the highest frequency, and followed by the striped hyena and Persian leopard. And when we look at the local things, we don't have any information regarding the possibility of brown bear attack when you enter any national park in Turkey or in a rural area. And here the guy stated that when attacked by a bear, he said that regarding the bear probably ripped out my kidneys, and he was severely wounded during that time. And as a human, other part of the human wildlife conflict studies, we have been also trying to understand the urban and rural student perceptions about the wildlife, mainly the brown bears and other large carnivores, especially in both study region. They liked the bears, but they were also afraid of them and unsure about leaving them in the future. And you can see some photos when I was young. And I try to give some information to them and making pictures with them and getting some books for them. And then we extended these studies to Latvia, Bulgaria, and Lithuania. And over 70% of the teenagers, almost more than 1,300 students, would like to know more about brown bears, irrespective of species status and information channels. And here you can see that where they got their information about brown bears. And most of them getting from the school in Latvia and Lithuania. And whereas some of them reading, whereas in Turkey, for example, most of them getting information from TV and talks, and some of them from the school. But as you can see here, there is very little direct observation from the field. So they are mostly getting this bear information either from the TVs, talks, and sometimes reading. And that's why we need to publish more good documentaries, and also we need to write, I think, a kind of layman books or some tea table books or something like that. And for the fourth part, I'd like to mention a little bit of wildlife genetics. And since 2006 or 2007, I can say that I have been also collecting feces and hair samples collected actually. And I also made with my friends, established some hair traps on the rubbing trees and also hair movement areas. And we, from the feces and hairs, and also not only collected from the northeastern part of Turkey, we had samples from the eastern, western, and Mediterranean part of Turkey. We published exceptional maternal lineage diversity in brown bears in 2016. And as you can see, we have most common one, mitochondrial lineage 3A. We have 1B, European one, and we at the Mediterranean part as a bridge between Asia and Europe, you can see that we have also 1D. Actually, this was supposed to be extinct during the last century, as Calviniac said, but because it's mainly designated for the Syrian brown bear. And here we have also 7A, 7B, Middle East clades, and Iranian one, as you can see. And we have higher diversity and mainly formed by the Anatolian Caucasus 3A, Eastern Europe, Great Caucasus, Lesser Caucasus connected. And we have also Middle East divergent, Middle East Turkey, and we have also Middle East Iran clades. And some of the latest studies, there is also one study not published yet, also showing, confirming this. They couldn't find a new one. When we look at the studies in Caucasia and also including, I think, not Iran here, but there was also one study in Iran. I think I forgot to put it here. And as you can see that the lineages in Azerbaijan, Eastern Europe, and not Eastern Europe, Azerbaijan is different in this region. And from the Armenia, Armenia is actually close with the Georgia, and this one actually is published here. Greater Caucasus is a different lineage, but Lesser Caucasus, Middle East, and all the other Middle East are connected. Middle East and Romania is connected again with the 3A by the marine studies in 2010. This is, I think, 2016. And I also did a study regarding the brown bear population genetics, whether because in Lesser Caucasus area we have more than 1,000 hydroelectrical power plant constructions and more than 20 big dam constructions. And I try to understand whether there is a kind of interruption between them because of these constructions. And we found that rubbing trees in the Great Kachkar Mountains appear to be mostly used by male bears, as only 12 of the 71 genotypes belongs to female bears. Thus, the population estimates relying on non-invasive sampling from these rubbing trees will be a male bias mostly. And I published this in PeerJ. And when you look at the heterozygosity levels, it's similar to the other countries, not either high or low compared to Romania, Finland, and Russia. And here is one of them is the big reservoir, and the bears are cannot move from one valley to another valley anymore, or they should see. And bears seem still moving between habitat patches despite the ongoing massive habitat alterations. And hair samples obtained from rock trees with barwood fire is the best for genotyping, and population estimates relying on non-invasive sampling for the rubbing trees mostly be male biased. As a conclusion, I'd like to say we need more international collaborations to extend our practices for preventive measures to other countries to conduct more ecological, mainly including the movement ecology, diet, and female-bear interaction studies. And I'd like to thank you for listening to me. And if you have any questions, I'd like to answer them. Mike, you are muted.
You're right. Thank you. Thanks a lot for that talk, Hussein. It's really nice to see the regional science building. If there's any questions, you can write them down in the chat, or maybe you could stop sharing your screen and we'll see everybody's faces and we can have a discussion from there. I have a question to start off. In the beginning of the talk, you mentioned that you thought 2 of the northern populations were now connected or becoming connected. And so I was asking one thing, do you think that's a recent improvement of connectivity, or you just finally figured it out? And then the second part of that is, do you think the bears in Turkey are on a positive trend or a stable trend or a negative trend?
Thank you. I think during that time, I visited that gap area in 2010 and 11, I think. During that time, there is no connection between those 2 populations because there is a highway passing, and then, I mean, the nearest bears to that area is from both sides is at least 50 square or maybe 100 kilometers from each side. So it was almost impossible to get a connection. But because of this rural movement to the urban cities, and I think rewilding of some rural areas, bears are expanding their ranges in Turkey. And I think they are not stable. I think I should say they should be increasing.
Okay, well, that's pretty cool. We're actually in Canada, we're experiencing a similar increase in range through possibly related to social acceptance and a little bit changing of human behavior, but that's cool to see that's happening in that area. Any other questions? I've got more, but I thought I'd give somebody else a chance.
I think Arash asked something.
Yeah, I wrote it in the chat. Thanks for the great presentation. I wanted to know, yeah, you mentioned that the population is increasing. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. If you see any emerging threats.
Yeah, I mean, the main threats, I can say 2 of them. The first one is probably the human-caused mortality because of the human-wildlife conflicts. And the second one is probably the construction works and the mining activities in almost all the mountains of Turkey. So both of them are the main threats.
Thanks. Yeah.
And what you talked about the diet being 85% vegetarian, which is pretty similar to Canada as well. What are the main high energy foods, like the acorns or particular berry species, or both if it's not meat?
Yeah, I mean, the high energy food mainly during the autumn time is coming from, I think, the oaks, acorns, and also especially coming from some berries. And what else? I mean, I am talking for the northeastern part of Turkey, and the bears on the western part, again, they are mostly feeding on hard mast, actually. And they actually follow the hard mast areas from one year to another year because of, I think the main reason for the high density in my study area is related to this following the hard mast years, and they want to feed on them. So.
Yeah, because that's what I was sort of thinking. It related to, you had the smaller home ranges, the higher densities. Those are pretty high densities. I think, Bruce, you had similar densities in a flathead, and that was like the highest density
no.
in the interior.
No, if I saw your numbers right, it was like 20 per 100. So like 200 per 1,000, wasn't that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're they're 3 times higher than the flathead, 4 times higher. Very high densities. Mind you, we have black bears too. We have another species of bears. And I was interested in your electric fencing, because you had one picture of a really nice electric fence. I mean, it looks as nice as mine, and I'm quite proud of my electric fence. Is it is that really rare to have a fence, really nice fence like that, or is that just kind of one that you?
No. I mean, we have done those during 2007 and 8, and then I mean it's pretty expanded all over the northeastern Turkey, and I made an actual survey regarding the sellers, and in 2016 I think they had sold more than 6,000 of them. So.
Wow, well that's more than we get done around here.
It's very impressive, really.
Yeah, very impressive.
So it was a really good demonstration during that time. In 10 years, the numbers of the electric fences especially increased in the northeastern part of Turkey, and almost all beekeepers, actually beehive and bee production, honey producers, actually they had at least one electric fence. Some of them had 2 of them. So.
Wow. And they maintain them and they look after their fences and.
Yeah, mostly, or they use 2 different electric fences to get sure that the bear cannot enter it. So right. Because I mean it's not 15 years ago it was really expensive, but now it's, I mean, $500 or something in Turkey, something like that. So it's a little bit cheap.
Yeah, did you have a question?
I think Mihai and Satya.
Yeah. Hey guys. Hi Hussein. Nice to see you again.
Hi Mihai. Nice to see you too.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I have actually 2 questions for you. One is maybe a little bit simple in terms of how is how are the politicians locally or regionally playing the card of bear existence, human-bear coexistence? They try to use it as an advantages in their election or something like this. So, how is the politics on bears, more or less? And the second question is related to, you said that you have a lot of land use changes. So you have now abandoned villages in the mountain region, but at the same time, I know that also Turkey, as Romania, we have both countries new infrastructure development, roads, different kind of, I don't know, fabrics, and so for sure we have also land use changes in agriculture, big farms replacing small farms, so stuff like this. At the same time, so all these changes in land use, it seems that somehow at each 10 years they rearrange a little bit the landscape and the suitability of habitat for bear, and this is somehow something that we experience also in Romania. And my curiosity is related to think that it's at least I'm still confusing, and it's not necessarily about Turkey, it's also what is happening in Romania, but I'm curious about your opinion on this. How do you explain that we have more fragmentation. I would say the quality of the habitat is not improving in terms of, because surfaces are balancing. We lose some habitats, we gain some habitats. But also the trend is positive, considering that we have poaching, so we have all the trends. So for me, it's a paradox. The quality of the habitat in general seems to be lower than they used to be, but at the same time, the trends are positive.
Yeah.
This for me, this is a little bit strange, and I'm still struggling to find the right question for a potential study in the Carpathians, and seeing all that you have more or less the same situation like us. I would say we have higher density at this point, but still the trend is still positive. So you have higher density, lower quality habitat, and the trend is positive. So this to me, it's a little bit strange. And again, thank you for the presentation.
Yeah, thank you for your explanation too. I think from the last one, if I start, maybe Arash also can confirm me. We have a collaboration with Humboldt State University, and Arash was leading a project, SOMA project for the Caucasia. And one of the students modeled all the habitats in Caucasia, and they have found that Turkey is the most, I can say, gained brown bear habitats in the last 20 years. So I can say that rewilding is occurring in, at least for Turkey, I can say that from that study. And also why the population is increasing in trend, I cannot say scientifically, but I have been seeing that I have studied 10 years in northeastern Turkey, and I have only seen one female bear with 3 cubs. But in the last 5 or 7 years, I can say that in many parts of the Turkey and also in northeastern Turkey, there are many photos of brown bears with 3 or 4 bear cubs. I mean, there can be only one explanation. Either their population is sharply decreasing because that's why they want to increase their population size, or they have been really feeding on very well. So they are having so much fat, and they produce 2 instead of 2, they produce 3 or more cubs. That's why I think I can say that the population is increasing. And I don't think the people's complaint also increase, but it doesn't mean that the population is increasing, just the frequency of the conflict increasing mostly. So that's why, I mean, the habitat fragmentation thing also occurring, but the bears are very adaptable animals, and the home range sizes is mostly smaller than the most European and American ones. That's why I think maybe in Romania too, that's why they are getting more food from the close areas instead of going forward, and they are, I don't know, just guessing, maybe they spent less energy than the other brown bears in Europe or North America. That's why maybe they can save their energy and pass it to their cubs. And regarding your first question, I mean, in Turkey, only the villagers actually using the brown bears against the politicians. They are saying that bears have a parliament member in the parliament, but we don't have any parliament supporting us, something like that. So that's why, I mean, people think that the government or parliament members supporting the brown bears presence in their area instead of protecting them, they are protecting the brown bears. And politicians, brown bears is not so much politic, but the wolf is a little bit more politic in Turkey. So I can say.
Thanks. Satya, did you have a question?
Thank you.
Yes. Hussein, Your presentation was very nice. I could get a very nice update on the brown bear status and their ecology in Turkey. I have just one comment first, that the problems you said about habitat fragmentation, then this infrastructure development, degradation of habitats, and conflicts are more or less similar. Even in Indian subcontinent, we see these issues. And I want to ask one thing. What do you think about the status of the brown bear habitat itself? Is the quality of the meadows and the alpine region and subalpine region, is it degrading or is it the same? First one. Second thing is, in some of the pictures I saw, the bear cubs were very lean and not so healthy. What could be the reason? Is it because of the poor nutrition or there's some disease or something?
I mean, regarding the second question, there are some parasite studies by the veterinarians, but I mean, they are common in all other populations. I don't think a specific disease, but I think, as you see, our females is almost 100 kilograms, so 80 to the 100 kilograms. So their cubs also should be lean. I mean, they are really thin compared to the other cubs. But these photos was mainly from 20 years ago, actually. But the new cubs that I have also new photos, as I said to Mihai, and they are really bigger than the 20 years before cubs. I mean, body composition, I can say that. And your first question about the fragmentation, you mean?
The habitat quality.
Habitat quality.
Habitat quality.
Yes, in the alpine region, I can say that because it's diminishing, degrading, mainly because, I mean, from the middle Black Sea region to the north, near to the Georgia border, our government established a green road over 2,500 meters to connect all the highlands together for the tourism, ecotourism. And that's why they destroyed many chamois habitats and also the brown bear winter habitats mainly. So that's why the brown bears going down and causing more conflict in those regions at the Black Sea region. So, and that's why the alpine and
just one more.
Sorry.
Wait, did you have one more question, Satya?
No, please go on. Please go on. Please go on. I have one follow-up question, but please go on.
And then the alpine region actually habitat quality most probably decreased, and we have shown that by using some habitat models, and bears not using anymore the alpine grasslands near to the Georgia border, for example. We have done it with one of my students. And because also during the summertime, we have some nomadic people using the highlands, pasture areas, high pasture areas for grazing their animals. So mostly either the bears, to prevent from conflict, they don't visit those areas during that time. But regarding the forested habitats, they are probably increasing, rewilding because of the rural abandonment. Yeah, I finished. You can go on.
Thanks. One quick question. Your telemetry data, does it say anything about hibernation? The number of days, is it stable or declining, the number of days?
I have 4 or 5 hibernation dates for brown bears in between 2010 and 12, and mostly depending on the season. In 2010 or 11, I don't remember, one of them was really warm in Turkey, northeastern Turkey. Bear went the hibernation during December, but normally the other bears, except that year, they went to the hibernation at the end of October or mid-November to the end of the March. And Actually, in the last 5 years, our wildlife department also conducted a project, and they captured more than 30 bears near to my study area. And they didn't publish anything about that, but one of my students now analyzing the data, and from that one I can say that bears going to hibernation after 10 years of my study, they are still going to the same mean days, average days, like 4 months. I mean, 120 days to the 150 days is changing, and I cannot say scientifically whether there is a kind of difference or not. So,
Thanks. Arash, did your question get
Thank you.
asked? You would like to know what the most important emerging threat to bears in Turkey? Did we? I don't think we did.
Yes, yeah. We talked about that,
Okay,
but I think
well,
Ali has one. Yeah.
Yeah, Ali, let's read Ali. Sorry. Thanks for your presentation. We are now trying to design corridors for brown bear at a regional level in Iran. You'd like to know about home range size in Iran. What do you know about that?
in Iran, I mean, I don't know the home range sizes, but if you look at the bear conditions and the studies done in Iran, I can say that they have also small home range size similar to Turkish brown bears, and it should be between 100 square kilometers for male brown bears and from 20 to 50 square kilometers for female brown bears, I think. But you should say better than me, I think, because I have never been in Iran.
I think Mia had another question.
Ali, is it?
Yeah, sorry, I have another question related to your last answers. Would you say that, of course, it's more like I would say, not quite science questions, but still, it's like a personal opinion that I'm asking for. Would you say that in Turkey, the tolerance of bears towards people presence change? Of course, that one individual bear can have different level of, I would say, tolerance. If I'm not sure if it's scientifically correct on human presence. That can vary because on the context, on the experience of the bears and stuff like this. But would you say that related to the whole population that you are working with bears, would you say that this tolerance level of bears towards people increased? So not quite becoming habituated bears, but still accepting more and more people and being more active during the day or stuff like this?
I mean, I should reply that question in 2 ways. One of them is if we think the rural people, and now they are currently mostly elderly people, and so they know the brown bears in the past and the current situation, but they don't use any guns or other, I mean, any preventive measures. So they know that the bears here and we can live together with them. So their tolerance are high, I can say. But the new generation doesn't know anything about the brown bears, how the bears behave, how should they behave or something like that, especially the ones born in urban areas, in cities. So, but during the summertime, most of them in Turkey, for example, visit the northeastern Turkey to pick up some, I mean, either walnuts, the other nuts. I can say that when those young generation visited their families and grandfathers, mothers in their villages, they had a chance to come across with bears, and most of the brown bear attacks occur during that time, during summer and at the end of the summer, during autumn time. So those people tolerance, I mean, I can say they don't have, I cannot say whether they have high tolerance or low tolerance because they don't have anything about bears, so their tolerance should be normal, I think. I can say neither high or low.
My question was about bear becoming more tolerant to people in terms of nesting closer to the during the night, during the villages, or being more active during the daylight. So signs like this. So but also the other one with the generation, it's very interesting. I think we have the same situation also here in Romania. It's pretty much strange that the generation seems that they are functioning. Sorry, now just to add, they are functioning on different kind of knowledge. So they are more interesting in terms of, I don't know what kind of information you can get from TikTok and whatever other media or whatever other schools that they exist, while the experience of elder people is more connected to direct interaction. So it's, I would say that the roots of the knowledge are different, but still we have also the same, more or less the same thing here. But this was my question about, actually, if you notice or your collaborators notice that the bear are more active during the day, or they are spending more time close to villages than they used to, like 10, 20 years ago when you started your projects.
During my studies time, I mean, we had the brown bear activities mainly at the crepuscular hours, in the early morning, in the early night hours. And we also found that the bears, mostly after feeding enough, they are going to sleeping areas, daybed areas, after the 7 a.m. till 4 a.m., 4 p.m. in the afternoon. But I have recently seen a paper, and they were also analyzed the brown bear conflicts in Turkey, probably either published or will be published soon. And they stated that the brown bear activity near to protected areas increased, and also the daytime activity is a little bit increasing, and also the human activity near to protected areas in Turkey, because of the people want to visit the protected areas in Turkey more compared to 20 years ago. So that's why the human activity and the bear activity is overlapping during the daytime more, I think.
All right, thank you. I'm going to turn the recording off, and then we can chat a little bit after. But anyway, thanks, Hussein, for a very interesting talk and a good survey of Southwest Asia's bear research. And so this has been the IUCN Species Survival Commission Bear Specialist Group Asian Brown Bear Expert Team webinar series. We're going to not have any more talks for the summer, but in the fall, we're going to be looking for other speakers. So anybody who's listening to this talk, think of something of interest in your region that you might like to share with the rest of the team. And we have, what's really fun about these talks is the discussion we have afterwards. It's quite interesting for all the different regions to share information, figure out what's going on. I find it pretty fascinating. And Senzar, I'm sorry you came an hour late. It's good to see you though. And I realize it's possibly my fault. I might have had the time zones for your country wrong, but at any rate, good to see you. Thanks for showing up. And Ali, it's good to see you and everybody. Satya, Mihai, it's Bruce. It's midnight for us, so it's time to go to bed. So I'll turn this recording off.
Okay, thank you.